Hello, and welcome to the Bamboo Lab podcast with your host, peak performance coach, Brian Bosley. Are you stuck on the hamster wheel of life, spinning and spinning, but not really moving forward? Are you ready to jump off and soar? Are you finally ready to sculpt your life? If so, you've landed in the right place. This podcast is created and broadcast just for you. All of you strivers, thrivers, and survivors out there. If you'd like to learn more about Brian and the Bamboo Lab, feel free to reach out to explore your true peak level at www.bamboolab3.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bamboo Lab podcast. I'm your host, Brian Bosley, of course, as you know. And I want to share before we get started with this awesome guest that we have on for the second time. I want to thank everybody out there, all of my amazing guests, and all of you wonderful subscribers and listeners out there. As of this morning, we are now being broadcast and subscribed to in more than 2,000 cities around the world. I don't know, for some reason, I've wanted to hit 2,000 for the longest time, and it was like the first 1,000 was so easy to get to. And then it was like 1,200, then 1,500. We got to about 1,700 for quite a while. And then just last night we were at 1,999. And this morning when I woke up, we were at 2,000. I think as of this recording, I think we're in 2,003 or 4 cities around the world. So this is all due to my guests and all due to the subscribers. Thank you all so very much. So anyway, everybody, I want to start this show today. Last January of 2023, actually January 31st, I had this guest on that it rocked the podcast at the time, and it still is. We have Brooke Krebill-Passchier, new name this year from last year. She's had some updates in her life. And so I'd like everybody to go back to season 2, episode 70. It was Seeing Greatness in Everybody with Brooke Krebill at the time. It's of all the podcasts, which I believe we've shot, this is our 115th episode right now recording. Her previous podcast is at number 8 in downloads for the Bamboo Lab show. So I couldn't help but want her to come back on, and her life has changed so much. She's done some amazing things. So my friend, Brooke Krebill-Passchier, welcome again for number 2 to the Bamboo Lab podcast.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much. That is a really nice introduction. And congratulations to you for all of the success of your podcast as well. I know you're just touching so many lives, and it's a true honor to be here. I'm just so grateful. So Thank you.
You knew I was having you back on. I told you last year. You're coming back on again. I don't know why I waited a whole year. I don't know why. So let's go. So last year we talked. We talked a lot about your book, which I'm going to include a link, everybody, to her book, which I would recommend everybody pick up. I read it last year before our show, loved it. I can tell a book that I love because when I look at it and it's got I think they're called dog ears. You turn the page over. I've got highlights and asterisks and underlines and all kinds of things. Her book is called Uncaged, Break Free by Changing Your Inner Story. One of the better books I've ever read. And I told you last time we talked, Brooke, I was pleasantly surprised because I get a lot of books if I'm going to bring an author on. And a lot of times I'm like, do I really want to read the book? And I got to be honest, every book I've read, I've really liked. So to all my other author guests out there, I've loved your books. This one touched me because it was written from such an authentic, vulnerable position. And I think that resonated with a lot of people. I bought several copies for people, and I think you sent me some copies, I believe. I don't know. I don't
remember if I did. Yeah, I may have. I'm not sure.
I know I ordered mine at this one, but I gave several copies away, and everybody that I talked to loved them. So I'm going to include a link to that. But last year we talked. Brooke was single, wasn't married. Her last name was Krebill. She was doing different kind of work, same genre, but different line of work to some degree. So give us an update. Where's your life now, my friend?
Oh my gosh. Isn't that the beautiful thing about life is it's just always changing and evolving. And I just think that we're here to expand. It's so funny that you were just talking about the book because I just think of, there's even such a different version of myself writing that book. I can still go back and see so much truth about where things were then, but it's just, I'm kind of going, wow, that felt like so long ago that book was written. And yeah, when we spoke last year in January, I was just dating my husband at the time. And since that time, we have married, we have blended our family. We together have 5 children, ages 10 through 21. We have both put ourselves in positions to get out of corporate America and open a business together. So we now run Uncaged Potential Coaching as a couple. I am the coach, but he is just so amazing and just fascinating to me on his skill set and what he brings to the table. And it's been just the most amazing journey I could think of. So it's still selling real estate, coaching like crazy, and just honestly living the life that I prayed for. I'm just so grateful.
Well, I got to tell you right now, I'm sure Josh will be listening to this. Josh, you got a good smile, dude. He's got a nice smile. You know what?
He does.
He's got one of those smiles that he looks very, very friendly.
It's really hard to be mad at him. I will tell you that.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
And Josh, I got to tell you that since you got married, you guys have been married, I've seen bigger smiles on Brooke on Facebook than I did prior. So well done, my friend.
He will love hearing that. Yeah, he will love that. It's so great. Yeah, it's really amazing that we're even together. You know, he has said to me a couple of times, like, gosh, like, how did we never run into each other before? And, you know, my answer is just so simple. I wasn't ready. I just wasn't. I had to grow into being the version of me to accept a really beautiful, healthy kind of love. And,
well, back
I
up for a
think
minute.
that's just the growth.
That's a pretty profound statement. You had to say that again.
I had to grow into the version of me that was able to accept and receive a beautiful, healthy kind of love.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you talk a little bit about that process of how you grow into yourself, to love yourself and to grow into yourself enough that you can accept that title? What did you do? What was that process like?
Yeah. So, you know, I think that what makes us human is, you know, the experiences that we go through. And I think that a lot of experiences I allowed to define me, you know, unhealthy relationships, or, you know, I was an unwed single mom. And there, you know, and I probably, if I'm being totally honest, fell victim to some of my circumstances, and in a lot of ways didn't feel worthy, didn't feel lovable. And so I just put so much focus on my business and raising my children. And I was just, you know, it's not that I wasn't attracting good men. I just wasn't having beautiful, healthy relationships that were going to go anywhere. And I've always had professional business coaches. And in 2020, I took a step back from that and met with a coach who he was working with Bob Proctor into thinking into results. And it was the first time that I really went and looked inward and really, instead of studying all of the better ways to, you know, build a business and build a team and make more money and do all the things, I started kind of getting rid of the layers of what was going on and understanding where my paradigms were and the stories I was telling myself, and just really started to work through that kind of stuff. And then I, through that process, even just recently, have now working with a coach and mentor, Kathleen Cameron, who also is a Bob Proctor coach, and she has her own program and business, and she's just absolutely amazing and has really helped me have more faith, be on the more spiritual side, and focus on self-love. You know, we all are so afraid to say self-love. And I've just learned that what we pour out is simply a reflection of what's going on inside. So I was attracting relationships of maybe dysfunction because I felt that's what I was worthy of. And that's how I loved myself.
Damn.
And so I had to grow into that. And I remember so vividly sitting down and going, okay, all right, Brooke, you figured this out in a lot of areas. You said you wanted to write a book. You wrote and published a book. You said you wanted a successful real estate team. Done. You said you wanted to coach for brokerage and help other individuals. Good. Why can you figure that out in so many areas of your life? And what is going on with like your love life? Why are you not getting that? And I sat down and I journaled and I put myself in a position and said, I'm so good. I already have so much love in my life. I don't need somebody to make me feel whole. Ooh. But if I had him, if he were here, what would I love? And I wrote it down. And I was like, I would love a person who is emotionally available, who's driven, who's growth-minded, who, if he's a father, he is a damn good father. He is friendly. He is family-oriented. His core values align with mine. And I wrote down everything, just a wish list. Like it was like I was writing my Christmas list. Like, okay, this would be fun. And I wrote it down and I started visualizing myself, not so much with a person, but the feeling of love.
Okay.
I sat in the feeling of love. I sat in the feeling of healthy love. And so when Josh showed up, it wasn't a feeling that didn't feel familiar. And when I asked for healthy love, that meant emotionally available. And I usually found myself looking for relationships with men that I had to prove myself to and show why I was worthy of love and fight for it. And I think if I had found Josh before that, because he was emotionally available and such a kind man, I wouldn't have seen myself as special for him to love me.
Wow.
And when he showed up, it was like we just knew. Yeah, it was so beautiful.
Yeah, I'm so happy for both of you. I got to tell you, Josh, I'm really glad that you guys found each other, because just a little bit I know of you, Brooke. I mean, you were an amazing person. And it was so funny. And I probably shouldn't say that, but I don't give a shit. When we did that podcast last year, you know, I get a lot of heart letters from people, you know, text, emails, and sometimes cards in the mail or letters. And after your episode, I had so many people reaching out saying, I love that episode. I love that show. I really like her. I would love to be her friend, you know. But I had a few guys saying, loved that show. Do you know if that Brooke is single? I'm like, I'm not even going there with you, buddy. I mean, that's not my story to tell. So
that is funny. Oh, that's funny.
I probably had 5 or 6 people ask me that, you know, and I had a lot of women who, you know, people I don't know, of course, say, "Oh my gosh, I love that episode. I think I'd want to be her friend." I'm like, well, look her on Facebook. I guess you know her name.
Yeah,
I didn't say anything, but I'm not going to
reach out.
I'm not going to connect anybody.
I love connecting with people. If anybody has that feeling, that is so fun to hear. You know, you never know. You hope you give value, and you hope that, you know, if they're not getting value, at least they're entertained by listening to it. And to hear that, it's really sweet to hear.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to read something from your book.
Okay.
I read it last year when we talked, and I pulled it up again today. This victim or victor thing on page 33 of your book. So I'm going to read this, everybody. This is the kind of stuff in her book. She says, victim or victor? A victim mindset question begins with why. When you ask a victim question, we get a victim answer. For example, why does this person treat me this way? Answer, because you are a bother. Or why am I unable to do this? The answer is because you are incapable. A victim question will give you an excuse as your answer. But victor questions begin with how or what. Ask a victor question, get the answer that sets you free. So the question that keeps, then she goes on, the question that keeps the lioness tame is, why am I such an airhead and why can't I concentrate like everyone else? The question that sets the lioness free is, what difference do I have that can be utilized as my strength? I think that's one of the coolest things I've read in a book in a long time. And I love how you frame victim and victor, because I find myself doing that victim questioning sometimes. Why did that happen? Why did I do that? Why do I act this way? Why does this person not like me, or whatever it is? And I'm like, I remember reading that last year on the show. I think I did anyway, because I have it highlighted, asterisked, and circled in the book, and I have it dog marked. Whatever you call it, the pages folded over. So I'm glad I pulled the book out. When I'm leaving today to go away for a couple more weeks, and I'm going to take the book. I'm going to throw it in my backpack so I can go through it again, because I know I got so much out of it last year. So everybody, Uncaged, Brooke Krebill, now Brooke Krebill-Passchier. So I love that I love what you said about you went inward. You kind of stopped listening to the outside noise of change and growth. You went inward first to really, you journaled. I love what you said about you realize you looked you looked inward, got rid of the layers, journal, but where I wrote it here. What you said is you realize that you don't need the love from another person or another man, but if you did have that man, what would he look like? And you actually describe that. And I do think, and I think you when you do stuff like that, you manifest that into your life in a great deal.
100%.
And I do love the fact that you're working with Kathleen Cameron. So everybody, she's got a book out there called The Best of Yourself. I would click on that. I would go to look for Kathleen's book, The Best of Yourself. It clearly has helped Brooke. And I think it could help a lot of people. And I do believe, I have not read it, but I love her subtitle, How to Manifest Your Best Damn Life Through You. That's good stuff. So.
Yeah, she is a manifestation coach. And
I love that. Dude, you got
both Josh and I work with her.
Okay, you got to connect the two of us, because I think I'm going to be looking for somebody like that to work with me.
Absolutely.
So, hell, I might be.
My life is completely different from having her in it.
I might be a coach for Uncaged Potential Coaching one of these days. You might have to hire me.
Hey, okay. I like the idea of that.
I'm going to have to hang up the Bamboo Lab Coaching and go to Uncaged. I love that name, by the way. So I've been following you on Facebook, and I love the videos you put out there. And I love that we talked about this, the one today that can you talk a little bit about that? And you phrased it better than I did. I think you saw it from a Jim Carrey show or something like that. Can you talk a little bit about the message you delivered? I think it was today or yesterday.
Yeah, I think I made a reel. So every morning in my gym, or on my way to the gym, every morning I'm listening to something that's going to inspire me, or I'm listening to a podcast. I listen to you. I really want to start my day out with feeding my mind with the right information. And I was on my way to the gym yesterday morning, and gosh, it's so interesting how Jim Carrey is just so much of a believer in our thoughts creating things, manifestation. And it was one of his shorts, and he said, your need to be accepted is exactly why you're invisible. And I was like, whoa, that is so profound, because I have had so many conversations with my coaching clients that they believe they have a fear of failure. And I'm like, wait a minute. No, we've uncovered so many fears. No, we have a fear of being seen, because if we fail, people see it. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. You have to be seen. You have to put yourself out there. I think the world needs more of it. I think I am so I've learned, and I'm so grateful I've learned to just be authentically myself. And, I put some weird stuff out there. I put things out there that I'm like, I don't know if everyone's going to resonate with that. And I'm okay with it. I'm finally at a place where it's like, whatever. Look, if I spend my whole life trying to make everybody happy, that's going to be a pretty miserable ride, because that's not going to happen. It's impossible. But I believe that the people who want what I have to offer will be in my world. We will find each other. And so I'm just like, okay, I'm going to be seen. I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to just be vulnerable, and I'm going to call people out on their bullshit when I need to. Like, if they're getting in their own way, I don't do it uninvited. Like, I always do it invited. I can tell you what I mean by that too. Like, I don't just walk around and be like, oh, that's kind of a crappy thing you're doing or thinking or whatever, and judge it. I don't judge, but I just think that people need to know they're worthy of being seen. And if you fall flat on your face, that's okay. Sometimes those are the biggest breakthroughs.
So what, do you think this fear of being seen, Brooke, is something that's been exacerbated in the last, 10 years or so? Or is this something you think we've always had as a culture, as a human race?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that we all want to be accepted. And I think that that's our human part of us. We are in community. Right. Of course, we want people around us. We want to be accepted. My question is, what circle do you want to be accepted in?
You got me.
I'm no longer invited to the tables that are full of gossip, because I don't entertain that. I don't want to be in that circle. I want to be with the dreamers, the doers. I want to talk about ideas. And so we can get real comfortable with our group, and we can get real comfortable with that. And, oh my gosh, if I do anything different, or if I ask my friends for business, or if I tell them I'm going to do this new venture, or I just put myself out there in some way or not, that might make my friends uncomfortable. And so I'm just going to stay small and not be seen.
Yep. And do you find that as you grow as a person and you become more in the spotlight, so to speak, do you find that more difficult to make those decisions, or do you find it easier to make those decisions to say, I don't really care if I'm accepted in this circle anymore? Or do you find that pull to go back to that circle gets greater?
It depends on where I'm at in the process.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I am not thinking from the end of what I would love to have and making decisions from that place, it feels hard. Mm-hmm. If I'm making decisions from the version of me that I know is my best version, that as far as that I can see, I know it's a part of my growth. So I think that so much work I've done, even just last time that we've talked, is staying neutral and not coming from a place of judgment. So when I say I don't want to be in that circle anymore, I've outgrown that circle, or it does not mean that there's judgment there. It just means that it no longer serves me. Right. It no longer fills my soul. It no longer feels good. And so I want to do things that feel good and that I can walk away from and say, yeah, that was the best part of me. That was the best of me today. I don't want to have to apologize or hold guilt for doing things I've outgrown.
Well, what I have found in the last, I think probably more, Brooke, in the last year, maybe 18 months, as the show has grown and my practice has grown, is that I have three types of people in my life. And this was hard for me to understand for a while. Is I have a group of, and I don't know what the percentages are, but maybe a third, I don't know. But I have a group of people in my life who want to talk about the podcast. They want to talk about my practice. They want to talk about, hey, how's it going? They want to ask a lot of questions. And I welcome that. because it's fun. I like to talk about it. And it's like, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the people that we've had on the show and the message that you guys, people like you, have shared with the world. But then I have a group of friends that are in family who they don't ever talk about it. And because they don't see, they just love me. They don't care. They might bring up a few things here and there. And I find peace in that because I don't have to talk about it. But then I have a group of people in my life who I can tell they don't like the fact that the show has grown, or that I'm bringing in different clients or bigger clients. They don't like it. I can tell. And I've had to slowly, well, I didn't do it slowly, I shouldn't say. I did it probably in the worst way. I just excommunicated them. Boom, out, done. Now, in retrospect, I've learned actually through a couple of guests that I had on that I've had other conversations with on forgiveness, some experts on forgiveness that we've had outside talks on that I probably could have done it a different way. And so now I'm keeping an eye on, I have a list. I'm like you, I journal every single day. And in my journal, in the first page of my journal, I have 3 columns of people. And I literally write their names down. I have food on one side, I have poison on the other, and I have in the middle column is, I don't know, they have a question mark. And I have a list of the people in my life who are nourishing to me. And they're in that first 2 groups that I mentioned. And I have a list of people in that third group. It's a small list, maybe 8 people that I really don't want anything to do with anymore. People who I was incredibly close with at one time. And about every 2 or 3 weeks, I pull it up and I just make sure, 'cause sometimes I update, like, okay, I met this person, and now this person has been in the center column of I don't know for a while. This person now, I can trust this person. This person has my best interest in mind, and I love and respect this person. And they become a food. Now, that food list is long. But I have my children on there. I even have my little grandson, Jack, on there, who I don't know. He's definitely always going to be nourishing to me.
I was going to say, you're not a proud papa at all.
Not at all, man.
It's so fun to watch. I love it. You're so in love with him. It's so great.
So here's a cute story. So I haven't seen him. It'll be 3 weeks on Saturday. That's one of the longest I've been without seeing both of my kids and my grandson. So I'm going up right after we record this show today. I'm going up to babysit, and my daughter and her husband who have date night tonight, and they had a babysitter who my grandson loves. I think her name is Miss Emily. I forget what he calls her. And he's always excited. So my daughter, all the phones were down. AT&T had a crash today, so her phone was down. So she was email or Facebook messaging me saying, "We have date night today. I definitely am not going to go on a date night if our phones don't work." And I said, "Well, I'll just come up." And I was going to come up tomorrow anyway. And so I said, "Ask Jack." I call him Pal. Ask little Pal. So she said, "You want Miss Emily or Papa?" And he just yelled out, "Papa." So I'm like, well, there it is, man. The contract is signed and sealed. I'm coming
Say
up.
no more. I'm on my way.
I'm on my way. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And tomorrow, I'm taking my son Dawson and his girlfriend Audrey to lunch because it's her birthday. And then they're flying out to Hawaii. They're leaving Wednesday to go to Milwaukee and flying out Thursday morning to go to Hawaii for 8 days for spring break. I'm like, can you imagine being 21 and 20 and going to Hawaii for spring break?
Good for them. That is incredible. And good for them.
I mean, I went to spring break, Brooke, one time in college, and it was the rugby team. 15 rugby players rented a motorhome, and we drove to Key West. Now, inexpensive. I literally slept on the roof of the motorhome every night. I think we were there for 12 nights. I slept on the roof of the motorhome every single night. Like, this was not luxury living. He's flying to Hawaii. They're renting a convertible Camaro, red Camaro, and they're staying in an Airbnb for 8 days.
I love that. I think that's fabulous.
Well, it's fabulous, but I didn't go to Hawaii until I was 54 years old.
No, and you know what? Here's the thing. My kids are living a very different life than I had a beautiful life, and I did. Let's just be grateful that you taught them how to do well. I know how to live a full life. I know. I'm happy. I'm so excited for them. So it's so great, and you have me kind of thinking about the friend thing and the list, and it's so funny that you say, who's feeding me and who's nourishing me, and I call them vacuums and hoses. Some people are going to suck the life out of you, and some people are going to pour it into you. But yeah, and you really have me pondering on some thoughts on that and how I really, I will say I can love people from a distance. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that I don't love them anymore. It just means that I just don't need them in my top circle. And I have learned to go inward so much and pay attention to how I feel. And I think our intuition is so much stronger than what we give it credit for if we just get quiet and listen. And I remember even years ago, before I really started doing like the work on me. And I mean, Brian, we've had some ugly things that had to be uncovered.
Oh, we all do.
I will tell you what, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to go there. I don't want to know what I'm going to find. And it just, it just brings a beautiful awareness. And there are some things, just like how you said, I probably could have done it better. I mean, we've all done that, right? I mean, and I remember, and I think that the reason that we do, and this is probably one of the biggest areas I've grown in, and I just don't think I'm ever going to be done growing. I think that's going to be the day I just don't wake up, right?
Right on.
But is the reason it bothered me so bad is because I took everything so personal. And what we have to realize is it's never personal. It's never personal. Your success makes some people feel a certain way, and that is not on you. And that's okay. It's okay. You're just no longer aligned. You're just not aligned anymore. It's not personal. It doesn't have to be ugly. We can look at it and go, okay. Like, I mean, I've lost friends, from taking way too many things personally. And I realize when I take things personally, it's there's something within me that's being like a little chord is being struck. And if that chord is getting struck, I got to do some digging. Okay, what's going on here? Why am I why am I feeling this way about that? And then I can rewrite the story, because we're just telling ourselves stories about everything.
Dude, has your mind always worked this way?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Weren't you like a party girl at one time?
Oh, goodness. Was I ever? Yes.
Your book talks about it. I'm like, how do you go from that to this person that, I mean, you have an incredibly deep philosophical thought process. And that's not you. I mean, it's not average. It's not. I'm not saying it's not normal. I think it's great. But it's certainly not average. Or at least if it is average for people, most people don't know how to articulate it that way. That's interesting. I really liked what you just said, because I remember, a couple of years ago, my girlfriend and I broke up, and it really devastated me. And we were only together for like a year, but she had a little girl and a little. She's now 13, and she was a widow. And I just fell in love with both of them. I could be like a role model to this young girl growing up, and madly in love with this other woman. And it crushed me for a while. It doesn't at all affect me anymore. I mean, I've definitely moved on to higher grounds. But I love what you said. And I wish I would have heard this a year and a half ago. It's not personal. You're just no longer aligned. That simplifies that. So for all of us out there, when we lose someone, and we do take it personally, it's so hard not to, especially the first, certainly thereafter it happens. But when you can just say, it's not personal, it's nothing to do with just me. We're just not aligned anymore. We were aligned for a while, and then we were no longer aligned. And that's a really simple, very benign way to look at the loss of a relationship, friendship or romantic.
Yeah. I think society has taught us that when something ends, it needs to be ugly. And it doesn't.
No.
It can be a very beautiful new beginning, and we can be grateful for that time. I mean, there was a very profound reason that person was in your life. And the friends were in your life. And the other thing too is that and Brian, I know that this about you too, like we are always very intentionally growing. And so if we are not aligning ourselves with people who are also very intentional on their growth, you may outgrow each other.
Right.
And that's okay. We're going to attract the people in our lives that are aligned with where we are at the time. And so, but I just don't think that it doesn't mean you don't love them anymore. It doesn't mean that you don't have a place in your heart for them. It doesn't mean that it needs to be ugly. It doesn't mean that you need to just never talk to them again. But if it's no longer filling your soul and you no longer feel like your best version of you around that person,
right?
It's just, the relationship is done serving its purpose. It's done. It's okay.
Yeah.
It served its purpose, and it's okay.
And it's interesting when you finally find that mindset, and you talked about this with finding Josh, when you and Josh found one another, when you kind of come, and what I did is I went inward, and I've shared this many times on the air. I have a friend, she was living in Vegas at the time. Now she's back in Portland, Oregon, and she knew in the fall of 2022, I was going through the loss of this relationship, and I was having a difficult time. I was living alone. I was an empty nester. It was me and my little dog, Chloe. And so one Sunday morning, she texted me. She said, "What are you going to do this week to show love to yourself?" And I'm like, wow.
Yes.
So what I did, Brooke, is
those are the best friends.
Oh my God!
Hold you
I still
to
thank
that.
her for this, and she'll be listening to this.
Yes.
I know she knows who she is. Thank you, Kim, for sharing that with me. So anyway, I wrote down a list of things that I needed to start to do for myself, and then I'm a kind of a tracker of things. Like I track stuff. I track everything. And I actually said, okay, this week I'm going to do this 5 times. And it was like physical exercise. It was journaling. And I was always a journaler, but I was kind of sporadic about it. I'm going to write 5 days a week. I'm going to sit down and write, or 6 days a week. I'm going to sit down and write 5 things that I'm grateful for at that moment. I did all these things. And all of a sudden now I continue to do those things every day, or, so many times a week. And during that process, I did find out who I was. I had to look into my soul. And I'm telling you, man, there's some shit in there I didn't like to see.
Yeah.
There was some stuff looking back at me that I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And I'm like, I had to start digging it out. And then of course, when you do that, you tend to find the person that you're not even looking for, that isn't even looking for you. You just kind of align with the person when you find that you can really get to know yourself and start to love and respect yourself. You find another person that is aligned with it just comes into your life without going on a dating app, or without, going out to the bar looking, or going here or there looking for someone to date. That person just kind of enters your life sometimes. And that's what happened with me.
As long as you're putting yourself out there and being seen.
Right on, man.
You can't just sit in your living room with your hands wide open going, okay, universe, God, I'm open, give it to me. Like, you actually do have to embody the practice and get out there.
Yeah. No, I didn't sit in my living room with what I did, I sat in my living room with...
No, I know you didn't.
I did. But during that time, what I did, I sat in my living room with a bottle of gin and tonic is what I did.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, I did the work. This is when I got this message from Kim, and I'm like, that's what I am doing. I mean, I'm sitting by myself in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and it's cold out. The days are short, the nights are long, and I'm sitting here by myself with a dog that doesn't even move anymore. She's so old and I'm just drinking Bombay Sapphire gin. I mean, not every day, of course, but I realized, okay. This could go really dark really quickly. And so I made some dramatic changes, and I'm still making those. I mean, I'm a work in progress. As you said, you will never stop growing and learning. But
we all are. Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about this Uncaged Potential Coaching? Because I love the name. That's a great name, man. I'm jealous. I'm really jealous of that name.
Yeah, it's always been I would probably say ever since I got into real estate, which is, almost 15 years, I would hire a professional coach. And
you never hired me.
No, I didn't. I didn't know you.
I even brought you on my show.
You think maybe you're my new coach and you think you're going to be working for Uncaged. So who knows? Maybe we'll do like a trade-off, right?
There we go.
Coach me and then no, I think that's great. So, but I hired professional coaches and, built a business and all the things. And there's a lot of growth through that, right? Breaking through barriers or glass ceilings that we set on ourselves and stuff like that. But I still felt caged. And that's why the book I wrote was Uncaged. And it really came down to what you were speaking earlier of I was caging myself by remaining victim. I was caging myself by not looking inward and not really realizing that what my outside world looks like is exactly what I'm pouring from the inside, because I'm looking at it through that lens. And Uncaged, it's so amazing. My clients that I work with, my niche is real estate, and so I work with a lot of realtors. And I also work with like small business owners and entrepreneurs. And I think that we all at some point in our careers know what it's going to take to build the business that we desire. We just do. Mm-hmm. And there comes to a point where it's like, then what the hell is stopping me? What is getting in my way? And so it's really, yes, of course we talk about business and we talk about, systems, but really like the very core level of coaching is uncovering some stories that you've been telling yourself and rewriting it. And that's what I help clients do. And then they have breakthroughs because they are able to rewrite the story. And it's so awesome. And I know you know this because you're a coach yourself. It is so awesome to see them like believe in themselves and have a breakthrough so quickly the minute they do and go, holy crap. Like we just all have blind spots. I coach people and I have a coach. Mm-hmm. I will, because someone else can see my blind spots better than I can. They can hear through my speaking in my limiting beliefs. And a good coach is totally willing to call me out on it. I don't want somebody to just go, oh, that's great, Brooke. And then show me my blind spots. This is what I want. What am I missing here? And one of the things I've learned so much, even since you and I have last talked, is, there's two things. One is the law of assumption. And that's whatever I assume to be true is absolutely going to be my truth. If I assume that this is going to be really hard, well, then I will be able to justify my success after I've then worked really hard. And then it feels hard the whole way. So, but if I use the law of assumption in my favor and said, what if I assumed it was easy? Then what would it look like? And using that along with being able to think from the desired result. So there's a lot of times Josh and I will even kind of look at our business or even our household, like how we live our lives. And this is one of the great things I love about Josh is he is just as much into growth as I am. So our conversations are pretty fun.
I bet.
And we'll say, okay, we have a decision to make. Are we making that decision from our end result self? Or are we making that decision from the version of us that has gotten to us to where we are right now? And it is a profound question. Because I have clients coming to me and saying, okay, Brooke, I want to make 7-8 figures. And I say, okay. We work through, and then they'll tell me all the things that they're going to do and through coaching and all the things. And I'll say, okay, you told me the goal was to make $1 million this year. The goal was to make whatever. Would your $1 million self be making the decision to do what you're doing right now? And they're like, oh my gosh. Yeah, okay, you're right. Because what I realize is when we have big ambitions and big goals, and we actually end up doing less. We stay in our zone of genius and we don't do everything. We're really good at saying no. So I would say that those are two probably the biggest things about Uncaged Potential that my clients realize. And I spent 6 months with them.
Oh, can you share with us the how people can connect with you to get more information on Uncaged Potential Coaching?
Yeah, it's my name, BrookePasschier.com.
Simple. And everyone, we'll include a link at the bottom of the show notes today so you can click on there. I would definitely, I think all of you listening to this, or many of you are thinking, okay, I got to connect. I would recommend at least looking at this and reaching out to Brooke and Josh. I want to, here's a really insightful woman I know asked this question a couple weeks ago. She said, who do you believe you are? What do you believe to be true about you? And then I'm going to paraphrase. It said, whatever you believe to be true for you is exactly how your feelings, actions, responses, and ultimately how your results will show up and be your reality. What do you believe to be true will be your truth. How do I know? I've been there. I have felt broken, broke, unlovable, and not smart. And every act I did, every decision I made, every feeling I felt, and every person I attracted was a direct reflection of this. Any idea who wrote that?
It sounds familiar. Yeah. And after you got in, I was like, wait a minute. Yes, I did write that.
You did, February 8th of this year.
Very true.
It's very powerful. And by the way, the picture that you have under there, that's the picture I'm going to use for today's show.
Okay.
That's a badass picture.
Okay.
I don't know colors. I'm going to say mauve, fuchsia. I don't know. Whatever color that pink it looks like. It's a certain color outfit on.
Coral. It's
coral. Okay, coral.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coral. What you guys will see when you see on the notes today, it looks like you're looking right at somebody and you're directly challenging that person to become the best version of themselves.
I'm so glad that you took that as the intent, because it's exactly what it was.
Well, it's very obvious.
Yeah. So I even said I'm going to ask you a serious question. Yeah. Yeah, I know what one you're talking about. I'm not even looking at it, and I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I've got your page pulled up. I want to go back to something you said earlier. You were talking about fear of failure and fear of being seen. And one of the things I do a lot of work with my clients is a lot of people will think they have fear of failure. And I'll say, well, fear of failure is really one of three things: fear of being rejected, fear of being embarrassed, or fear of losing something that you currently have. I said, we all have that. Nobody wants to be embarrassed and rejected or lose what we have. But I find that the most dominating fear is fear of success.
Absolutely.
And that's a multitude of things. And I think there are,
absolutely.
And I think fear of being seen is what you're talking about.
Yeah. And also what you were talking about, outgrowing people.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to this relationship? What's going to happen here? What are people going to think of me? Am I going to be judged? I think that we all would love to have more money, a beautiful business, more love, more happiness, more joy. I think that those things are absolutely there's an infinite amount, right? So we will all, because we are here to grow and expand, I think that we will all always desire that. And with that also comes with, okay, the decision to be seen, the decision to go big, or to make big things happen. And I think that a lot of people desire more, but they just have a hard time making the decision to get after it because of that. And I actually would take it a step further. I think that we are so afraid of how bright we actually can shine.
Oh, yeah.
I think that we are deathly afraid of how powerful we actually are.
Isn't that strange? I mean, I'm not judging. It just, because I know I fear that. I was told by my former mentor so 28 years ago or so, he was a vice president of a Fortune 500 company, and he mentored me, and he was the greatest mentor, but yet great guy, very intelligent man, got his master's degree from Harvard in 10 weeks, was a genius, and probably the most successful man I've ever worked with in my life, financially and business wise. And he brought me to his office one day and he said, God damn it. I wrote the notes down. I still have the notes from that last meeting with him. He said, every time you face success, and I was running an office in Livonia, Michigan of like 30 financial advisors. And I was like 27 at the time, I guess. And he said, every time you have a big success, you self-implode, you fuck it up. And I'm like, okay, well, okay, what do I do? You know, I was kind of naive. And anyway, what I found out later, Brooke, is I've always had a massive fear of success. And I think the imposter syndrome has been a big reason for that. One of the primary reasons for that. And like you said, being seen, because, you know, mediocrity is a great camouflage. When you're mediocre,
Absolutely.
nobody notices you. But when you start reaching success and become more whatever, even just becoming happier in a better relationship, not even necessarily success in the world where other people know you, but maybe you just become healthier. All areas. Yeah. You lose weight, you become healthier, you eat better, you stop drinking, stop smoking, whatever it might be. All of a sudden, people start noticing you because you've changed. And they don't look at you. When they look at you, they aren't looking at you. They're looking at a mirror and they're seeing a reflection of what they're not doing right or who they're not becoming. And that's scary for a lot of people because you do get ostracized when you start making positive changes in your life by certain people. And that's scary. Even if you know intuitively, like you said, the intuition, even if you know intuitively that person's probably not the right person for me, we're not in alignment, it's still hard to lose those people. It really is. It's challenging. So I'm going to ask you a question to that person out there right now, because I do believe that everybody wants to grow. And I believe anybody who listens to a podcast like this is probably on the higher end of desire for growth. But if you're talking to a person out there who right now just feels stuck in his or her life and they want to grow, they just don't know what to do. Like, what do I do? What's the first step I take? Or what's a couple of things I can do? You have any recommendations for that person?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, this is exactly my curriculum. I live and breathe that. Your absolute best tool for anything is your imagination. You've got to stop living from the past, the present, past. You've got to start living in your imagination. Your subconscious mind has no idea whether or not you're telling it a story from the past and all the reasons that everything went wrong, or if you're telling it a story from what it is that you desire. And I think that we as humans will always default to what's comfortable. And so even if we're living a life of that, like we grew up in dysfunctional homes or money was always an issue and talked about and thought about, and, you know, instead of like looking at other people with healthy relationships and healthy bodies and healthy bank accounts and using that as inspiration, maybe we, used it to hate on people and judge. And so we all have these paradigms. And so whether or not it was healthy for you at the time to grow up that way, it is comfortable. It's what you know. And so if we don't grow, we will default to what's comfortable, even if it's not good for us. So I will say my imagination is my best. It's my best tool in my business and my life, and really getting into it and allowing myself. I think that the biggest thing that I find in coaching is when I ask people, what do you desire? A lot of people have no idea. Like, I'd like to have like a 8-figure business, 7-figure business, 6-figure business. Why? How would you allocate those dollars? If the purpose of this is to fund your perfect life, what are you going to do? Where would you like to go? What experiences would you like to have? Who would you like to have it with? And I think a lot of people just don't know. So we have to get into our imagination, and we have to not only see it, we have to feel it. Because just like what I said about Josh, right? I had to have the feeling of healthy love so that when he showed up, it wasn't so uncomfortable that I pushed it away and sabotaged it. Wow. And we do the same thing in business. So we have to get into our imagination. We have to see it, feel it. And then we get into a feeling of, it's not oh, this is maybe possible. It's like, it's done. It's done, because whatever we ask for will always show up. And I want to say that again, everything you ask for will always show up. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't ask for, the negativity in my life and everything. And I don't ask for this. Listen, if you're complaining and you're talking about it and you're focusing on it and you feel like you have a need, or you're talking about how bad things are, you're just creating more of it. Like, there's just, whatever you ask for is going to show up. So let's focus on what we want. Let's focus on, and the reality too, Brian, is people they think they want more money, or they think that they want more vacations or whatever. But what we're really doing is seeking more joy, more love, more happiness. And you can get into your imagination and feel that without it. And the more you feel it, the more things you create to feel more of it. And it's once you grasp onto that and you get into the feeling of love and happiness and joy and prosperity and all the things that you desire, when they show up, they no longer feel uncomfortable. That's your comfort zone. Dude. So you don't sabotage it.
Okay, so when are you going to read or write the next book?
It's brewing. It's brewing. I gotta say though, it's with such a whirlwind. It's brewing and I will absolutely be making the time for it. This past year, Josh and I sold 2 houses, bought a house, did renovations, got married, combined a family of 7, put 2 in college. I'm like, okay, and now we're business partners too. The book is coming, but probably, I think 2024 is, I'm going to be enjoying everything we built.
I think that's a good idea. Mm-hmm. I think you well-earned, well-deserved for both of you. I want to go back to something, everybody. I want you, because I know there's somebody out there right now that listened to what Brooke just said, and they're going, yeah, right, I don't buy that bullshit. And what she said was, everything you ask for will always show up. And I know there are people out there. I know you out there, because I thought that at one time. But I want you to stop and think. Look at Brooke. Look at Brooke. Look at her life, how she has manifested and designed the life that she now has from where she was before and the woman she was before, at least the woman she felt she was before, to the woman that she knows she is now, and the life that's created for her. This shit works. I'm telling you, it does. It works. It's not psychobabble bullshit. It's real science. There's science behind the way what she's saying right here.
And I will take that a step further, and I actually firmly believe that it's God's work.
I agree.
I believe that I believe that we are here to create with him. And when we ask, because we are here to have the human experience, he allows us, because we were born with free will, to create what we ask for, that what we ask for shows up. And if we want to complain, then God, source, universe says, okay, here's more to complain about.
Couldn't agree more.
And so for me, my best prayer is just saying thank you. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I get into that feeling of gratitude. And I, even when I'm asking, I'll say, I'm so grateful. And I would love to experience more of this. I don't need anything. None of us need anything. People are like, oh, no, you don't understand. I can't pay my bills. Listen, we need nothing. Would you love to be able to pay your bills with less stress? Yeah, absolutely. But that's another thing is I've learned to have gratitude even just paying my bills.
Right.
I'm not going to yell at money or yell at the company that, oh, I have to pay for water. Oh, I have to pay for electricity. Oh my God, I got to pay tuition for no. I'm so grateful that I have clean water. I am so grateful that I am sitting here with my lights on.
Right. We have heat in our homes, air conditioning in our homes. We have
so
cars
grateful.
we can drive.
Yep. And I would love, I'm so grateful I can actually live in this home. I would love a home. I would love a beach house as well. That would be great. And so you just put it out there. I'm not going to, curse money. I'm not going to complain about the house I don't want. I'm going to be grateful for what I have, and then I will ask for more. But I'm not attached to it.
I think I know right now there are people out there because I've been in every spectrum of the emotional process of life. It seems like I've been on a lot of them where I've believed certain things and I didn't. And as I've grown and learned and tried to bring in more wisdom from people like you, talking and reading and listening and going back to the God thing, there were so many years I grew up Catholic, then I became atheist, then I became agnostic, and then I started studying the science behind religion, not really studying it. I shouldn't say that. I didn't do a ton of research. I did enough that made me realize that whether or not I do believe in God, I do. And I pray every morning. I pray every night. I have my Jesus Lives book, I think it's called, that I read every day for daily affirmations. But for those people out there who maybe feel like I'm agnostic or atheist, you know what? Like Brooke said a few minutes ago, you can pray to the universe. You can pray to a source because everybody believes in the universe. No matter what, you're praying to a source of energy. And I believe it's God. Brooke believes it's God. Obviously, half of them, I think more than half the world does. But if you don't, pray to the universe. Pray to a source of energy. Because no matter
just give thanks.
Yes.
Just give thanks.
Yes. Because when one of the things I learned, I think it was a University of California, Berkeley study that showed for every one positive thing the human being sees in his or her world, they notice 9 negative things. And that's because that little amygdala in our brain is always looking for danger. And when you start documenting and thinking of the things, and I write them down because I like to write things down. I write down, like I said, 6 days a week, 5 things at that moment that I'm grateful. Sometimes it's my cup of coffee in my hand. Sometimes I'll say I'm really happy that it's raining outside because I love the sound of it. Sometimes it's just really mundane things. But when you do that, when you show gratitude and thanks, you start noticing all the other things out there that you're thankful for. And when you notice them, you are more thankful. And when you're thankful, you bring in more of those things that you're grateful and thankful for. I mean, it's just a process, and it's a natural process. Yeah. It works every single time.
Every single time. There are so many things going on in our outside world and in our outside circumstance, and what you focus on will expand. So whatever it is that, we focus on, if I'm focused on how angry I am or how bad things are, how it's going to expand. I kind of think about it like, if we're in a relationship and we're like mad at our, significant other. If I'm mad, I can find a bunch of things to be really mad about and I can expand that. Right. But it's like, okay, do I want to do that? Because if I focus on it, it's going to expand, and then I'm just going to continue fighting and continue being mad and continue to find more things to be upset about. Gosh, your breathing could bother me if I'm mad at you, it wouldn't matter. But if I'm grateful and I'm happy and I'm looking intentionally for things to be grateful and happy for, that expands as well. And so Brian, I was raised Catholic too, and I don't practice Catholicism anymore. And I would not identify as a religious person at all.
Yeah.
I am not, and I don't have any problem with it. It's just not. I would consider myself extremely spiritual, and the more that I have dug into myself and really paid attention to what I focus on expands, and what everything I ask for comes. It's very amazing for me to see how we really are not here alone. And there really is a very strong force working in our favor. And, it's the more I see it, the better it gets. And the more intentional I am on my thoughts and feelings. And I'm not perfect. Believe me, there's a lot of human in me, and I have some really ugly parts that I'm like, ooh, okay, that needs to be looked at, but not today, because I don't want to go there, but
we're going to bring Josh on the show as a guest one of these days. We can talk about those things with him.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all do it. And if anybody ever said that they didn't, I probably wouldn't be aligned with them, but I don't know. It's so profound. Like the more I see it and I even just look at like how we talked about how different my life is even from today, from a year ago. And I mean, I would have sabotaged the hell out of that relationship if I wasn't open to receive like anything but, only a healthy relationship. So, and now it's the same thing with everything. Like we set our standards and we have to be open to receive and come from gratitude. And it changes everything. It changes everything.
God. This is one of those episodes where I know I'm going to have you back on again because it's, again, I feel like even the last time we talked, I felt like we were just scratching the surface, and we got a little further in, but we still have so much to cover.
Yeah.
Are you open to coming back on sometime?
Oh gosh, yeah. I could talk about this stuff forever.
I don't want to wait a whole year. I want to share one thing about manifestation. I don't know if I'm even being serious about this, but anyway, I was driving from Lansing, Michigan last Saturday morning, and I was about an hour north of Lansing, and I don't know, I must have seen a dead raccoon on the side of the road. I don't remember seeing it, but I remember thinking, wouldn't it be weird if I got home, I was gone for exactly 2 weeks, and nobody had been in my house. And I thought, wouldn't it be weird if I got home and there was a raccoon in my house? And then I don't know why I even thought that. I've never thought that in my life.
Lo and behold.
Got home Saturday night. There wasn't a raccoon in my house, though. But I got home and I opened up my door, and I'm so OCD that I knew I call them my Mr. Rogers shoes that I put on when I get in my house, my indoor shoes.
And house shoes. I call them house shoes.
Yeah, the house shoes. And they were there. They were parallel, but they were about 8 inches apart. I'm like, I would not leave my shoes. They would be right next to each other. And then I looked, and there were a couple of things that were on my countertop that were on the ground. I'm like, whoa. Then I looked through my kitchen to the back entrance, and there's a little utility room back there where your furnace, hot water heater, there's a utility sink back there. And I could see through to that. And by the back door, it looked like snow on the floor. And I thought, holy shit, somebody's in my house, and they're clearly still here because they got snow. It hasn't melted. And I thought, okay, I'm going to fight somebody in my house right now. Anyway, I walked through my kitchen and I'm looking around, and all of a sudden I heard a bang in my living room, and a big gray squirrel came running through my living room, through my kitchen, right in front of me, and went back into that back room.
Oh my gosh.
And Brooke, I'm like, what just happened? So I immediately shut the door so he couldn't get back into the house. And then I went around the garage, and then I opened up the back door, and I left it open so he could just get out. It took him like two and a half hours to get out. I kept watching, and there was there was some fresh snow on the back patio. So I knew he hadn't left yet. So finally I went back into the back room through the outside door. And as soon as I walked in there, he popped up and he started running around. I'm like, oh shit. And then he noticed the door was open. So I just backed off, and I sat outside for a minute, and then he kind of peeked his head out, and then he ran off. And I'm thinking, how did I just think this was going to happen 4 hours ago? And then it wasn't a raccoon, but it was a squirrel. I mean, I don't think that's manifestation. I think it's just irony, or a coincidence. But isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's so crazy. It's funny. Like, like you have that thought, and then you walk in, and you go, oh my gosh, like that.
And it's never happened
about the destruction that a raccoon could do, and here's a squirrel. And a lot of people can call it, that's just a coincidence, or that's just the way things happen, or every now and then. And here's the thing. That whatever you believe is going to be your truth is your truth.
Right.
If you're like, no, that's not, and that's okay. Like, no, I'm not gonna even think about the manifestation thing. And I know the word manifestation is a little out there for some people. I think that we're starting to get more used to it, and we're starting to see that this is actually like something that is becoming more common for people to talk about. But it's still a little out there for some people.
Yeah.
And, you can, for me, it's like, okay, if you are not like on the spiritual side of it, or you don't want to like believe in like a higher power working in your favor and giving you the experience that you ask for, whether you're grateful for it or complaining about it, it will give you the experience you're asking for. Then I just say, okay, then how would you like your life to look? And let's make decisions from that place. And then you are the only one in control of everything that's happened. Okay, fine. if that's your belief, that will be your truth. But let's make decisions from that end side then, and then let's see how life unfolds from there. And so you can look at it analytically, you can look at it spiritually, you can look at it both ways. But we show up differently when we believe that what we're asking for is already available. We just do. If I believe that I can build a $1 million company, a six-figure company, if I believe I'm going to have a healthy marriage, I show up differently than if I believe that I am only worthy of making $30,000 this year. I show up differently if I believe that every relationship I have is going to fail anyway. So if you don't believe in it, that's okay. Just start thinking from the end and show up as if you've already have it in your physical world. And your life will unfold that way too.
And what else? What do we have to lose?
What do you have to lose?
Right on.
You might be seen.
You might be seen. Oh, my friend, I appreciate you coming back on here. I mean, this was better than the first one. So now we got to go from number 8. We got to get this one up to number 1.
I know. Let's go for number 1. That's so fun.
When I told you before we started recording today, that you were number 8 out of 114, you didn't seem happy. I thought you'd be happy. Like, why is it not number 1? That's the Brooke I wanted to talk to right there.
A little bit of that in me. I know, like, if I'm not number 1, just like don't even mention my name. No, I know that is like, but that's the ego, and that's okay. That's what drives me, as long as I do it for all the right reasons. And I would love to be number 1 because I would love to get this message out. I think it's such an important message, and my mission when you asked for me to be on this, which by the way, I was so honored that you came back and asked me to be a guest again. I was like, you know what? I just hope to give value to a lot of people.
Well, you did that.
And that would be a job well done.
You do that every day. I know that you do in your coaching and your personal life, with your family, with your friends, and and you will do it. You're going to reach a lot of people when this comes out. So as this is, by now it's coming out. So by the time people hear this, you're going to be reaching a lot of people. So I'm expecting everybody out there to send in your heart letters, your emails, your texts, however you want to reach out to me. I want to find out what Brooke's message has done for you. And then over the course of the next few months, as you work through the message she's delivered here today, and you're trying these things, right back to me, reach out to Brooke herself and let her know, here, your story, your message, your content, your material, your wisdom has done this for my life. Let her know what she's doing for you, because she's changing a lot of lives.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. That's really cool to hear. I'm gonna accept that. So thank you.
Accept it, yeah. All right, my friend. Well, I appreciate it. Can you stay on the line for a little bit after we're done here so I can?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, my friend. You are always a welcome guest on this show, and I can't thank you enough for being such an inspiring and amazing, and you're a blessing to the Bamboo Lab podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. That means so much to me, and right back at you. You're doing just so many cool things, and I just love it. I love seeing the growth of the show as well, and I just hope you keep on going forever.
I'll do my best. Okay. All right, everyone out there, please hit that like button. Please subscribe, and please share this episode with 3 people you care for and love, because you know this message can change lives. I'll talk to you all in a week. In the meantime, please get out there and strive to be and give your best in life. Please show love and respect to yourself and to everyone around you. And please, by all means, get out there and live intentionally. I love and appreciate you all.